I grew up in a quiet suburb of Ohio, in a white house with a neat lawn that looked perfect from the outside. Inside, it was anything but. From the moment my younger brother Ryan was born, my parents' world revolved around him. He was their miracle child, the golden boy who could do no wrong. I was just the older sister who existed in the background, expected to understand, adjust, and sacrifice. If Ryan failed a test, the teacher was blamed. If I failed, I was grounded. When he broke a neighbor's window, it was boys being boys. When I stayed out 10 minutes late, it became a lecture about responsibility and shame. I learned early that love in our house was not equal. It was earned, and I was never enough. By high school, the favoritism turned into open betrayal. My parents used the college fund my grandparents had saved for me to pay for Ryan's private sports coaching. They didn't ask. They informed me. "You're smart," my mother said. "You'll manage somehow." Ryan smirked the entire time, already knowing he had won. I worked 2 part-time jobs, studied late nights, and earned a scholarship to a state university. On the day I got the acceptance email, my parents barely looked up from the TV. Ryan, meanwhile, failed out of his prep academy, and my parents blamed me for adding stress to the family with my success. The final betrayal came when I was 21. Ryan crashed my car while driving drunk. Instead of holding him accountable, my parents pressured me to lie to the insurance company. When I refused, they told me to move out. Ryan kept the car. I left with a suitcase and a broken trust I would never rebuild. For years, I stayed away. I built my life from scratch in Chicago, finished my degree, climbed my way into a corporate job, and learned how to live without expecting approval. Meanwhile, Ryan stayed home, drifting from job to job, still protected, still enabled. Then my father got sick. Suddenly, I received calls filled with guilt and false warmth. "Family is family," my mother said. They needed help with medical bills, paperwork, decisions. Ryan, of course, was too overwhelmed to handle responsibility. I returned, not out of love, but out of closure. That's when I saw the truth clearly. Ryan had maxed out my parents' credit cards, taken loans in their names, and even convinced them to sign over partial ownership of the house to him. They knew, but they didn't care. When I confronted them, my mother said, "He needs it more than you." That sentence changed something in me forever. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I stayed calm. Over the next few months, I quietly took control of everything they asked me to manage. Finances, insurance, legal paperwork. I documented every forged signature, every fraudulent transaction Ryan made, every lie my parents covered up. I warned them once, gently. They dismissed me again. So I stopped protecting them. When the investigation started, it wasn't out of revenge. It was out of truth. The bank flagged the loans. The insurance company questioned inconsistencies. Ryan panicked and tried to blame me, but the evidence didn't lie. My parents finally realized the son they favored had been using them all along. Ryan was charged with fraud. The house was sold to cover debts. My parents moved into a small rental, stripped of the illusion they had built around him. They called me, crying, apologizing, asking for forgiveness. I listened. Then I said no. Not out of cruelty, but because I had already forgiven myself for leaving. I walked away again, this time without anger. I didn't win by destroying them. I won by refusing to carry their burden anymore. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's letting people face the consequences you are forced to endure alone. And for the first time in my life, I felt free.